Chelsea might have just pulled off their smartest move yet. The deal is done. Here we go. Xabi Alonso is the new Chelsea manager, and honestly, he is already one of the top tacticians in world football. Bringing Xabi Alonso to Stamford Bridge means landing the exact guy who won the Bundesliga and domestic double, completely undefeated with a Bayer Leverkusen squad that had never touched it. You are getting a manager like Jurgen Klopp, someone who proves that a leap from the Bundesliga to the Premier League absolutely works. A boss who built a historic 51-match unbeaten run across all competitions, dropping just the Europa League final. And let us be honest here, stylistically, modern Bundesliga football is the closest thing to the Premier League you will find outside of England. Now, here's the scary part. Even when things went sideways at Real Madrid, Xabi Alonso basically matched Hansi Flick. 34 games, 24 wins, 4 draws, and only 6 defeats. For Chelsea, hiring Xabi is pure insurance. This club will not fade from Europe again. It is a massive statement. I mean, his Leverkusen was brilliant. He won the league, earned the big Real Madrid job. You do not just forget how to manage overnight. Madrid simply rejected his core demands, meaning work hard, press high, nail the basics. Because the objective at Chelsea is crystal clear now. Bring direction to a young project overflowing with raw talent. A squad that already showed flashes of greatness by taking the Club World Cup, lifting the Conference League, and fighting their way back into the Champions League. Pedro strikes it clean, and Chelsea genuinely believes Xabi Alonso is the one man who can unlock the absolute maximum from this squad individually and collectively. Just look at the tools he gets to work with now. It is absurd. Reece James and Joro Hato holding down the back line. Malo Gusto and Marc Cucurella flying up and down the flanks. Moises Caicedo, arguably the best ball winner in the entire Premier League. Andre Santos, a kid with pure superstar potential. And Cole Palmer, who on his day might genuinely be the best attacking midfielder on earth. Add Alejandro Garnacho, a raw talent who becomes truly unstoppable if he locks in mentally. But here's where it gets terrifying. Alonso's biggest strength is maximizing individual talent through his tactical system. He builds structures that let gifted players hit their absolute ceiling. Look at Florian Wirtz under Alonso. Wirtz became an elite playmaker globally because Xabi gave him the freedom to read space and completely run the final third. Now imagine what he can do with Estevão Willian. A kid with a flair and raw talent level that honestly reminds people of Lamine Yamal. Pair that with Andre Santos leveling up at the exact same time. That is a terrifying thought, and we are not even done. Pedro Neto, an explosive winger packed with goals, plus the lingering questions around João Pedro and Enzo Fernandez. If they stay put, Alonso can absolutely build a massive project around both of them. This part is crucial. Alonso demanded real power in the transfer market before taking the Chelsea job. Voice, vote, total control, he got it. 3 or 4 new signings are already on the way. Between his tactical planning and long-term vision, Chelsea is building a machine that could genuinely rattle the entire Premier League. So yeah, the Premier League absolutely has a Xabi Alonso problem on its hands. Do not believe me. Watch this. To understand the kind of manager Chelsea just put on their bench, we have to rewind to the very beginning. When Bayer Leverkusen appointed Xabi Alonso in October 2022, even hardcore football experts were stunned. Of course, the Spaniard carried massive weight. As a player, he literally won it all. World Cup with Spain in 2010, 2-time European champion. The boss arrives. Champions League winner at Liverpool and Real Madrid. 3-time Bundesliga champion at Bayern Munich. But legendary players do not always become elite managers overnight. When Xabi walked into Leverkusen, the place was an absolute mess, sitting 17th in the Bundesliga after just 8 matches under Gerardo Seoane. Porto had just battered them 2-0 in the Champions League days before Alonso stepped through the door. Zero confidence. The dressing room was completely shattered. Then came October 8th, 2022, Alonso's debut. Leverkusen crushed Schalke 4-0, marking the biggest debut win in club history. But honestly, stabilizing that squad was far from easy. Following that first win, they suffered 2 brutal defeats. 3-0 against Porto, then a humiliating 5-1 loss away at Eintracht Frankfurt. The squad was shaky. His ideas were totally new. But the second those players grasped Alonso's football philosophy, everything clicked. Leverkusen suddenly rattled off 3 straight league wins, including a stunning 5-0 demolition of Union Berlin, who actually sat top of the Bundesliga right then. That specific match completely rewired the squad's mentality. Then came another massive statement, a 2-1 victory over Julian Nagelsmann and his Bayern Munich. Belief was surging. After finishing 3rd in their Champions League group, Leverkusen dropped into the Europa League. Here, Alonso really started showing his teeth as a knockout tactician. They survived a brutal shootout against Monaco. Then they knocked out Ferencváros and Union St. Gilloise. Suddenly, Leverkusen found themselves in a European semi-final against Jose Mourinho's Roma, Alonso against his old mentor. His father was a manager, so he grew up a lot like me. Born to a player, raised by a manager, then he became a player, and obviously a much better one than I ever was. He became a top-level player. His positioning on the pitch and his pure knowledge of the game were incredibly high. He played in Spain, England, and Germany. He was coached by Guardiola at Bayern, by myself at Real Madrid, by Ancelotti at Madrid, and by Rafa Benitez at Liverpool. So if you put all that together, I think Xabi has everything required to be a very good coach. They lost narrowly, 1-0 on aggregate, against Mourinho's legendary low block. But that intense tie gave Alonso's young squad something truly priceless. Real experience, grit, and competitive maturity. Honestly, the most important thing Xabi did that entire season was rebuilding Florian Wirtz. The kid had just returned from a torn ACL. Alonso managed his minutes perfectly, protected his body, but gave him total creative freedom. He turned him into an absolute free-roaming playmaker between the lines. In just half a season, Wirtz dropped 4 goals and 8 assists, instantly jumping right back into elite football. Honestly, that alone was a massive win for Alonso because by May, Xabi Alonso dragged Bayer Leverkusen from second to last in the Bundesliga all the way to 6th. From absolute chaos to European football, from panic to true belief. The 2023-24 campaign goes down as the year Xabi Alonso broke football logic. He shattered ancient curses and completely redefined what was actually possible in German football. Because this was not Bayern Munich, this was not some massive super club expecting trophies every single year. This was Bayer Leverkusen, a squad that just 18 months prior was completely drowning right near the relegation zone. A team mocked for years with that brutal Neverkusen tag, and Xabi flipped the script, turning them into never losing. Leverkusen grabbed the first Bundesliga title in their 120-year history, and they did it entirely unbeaten. 28 wins, 6 draws, 0 defeats, 90 points, an invincible league run. Something never done before in Bundesliga history. 144 goals scored across the entire season. Only 42 conceded. A pure machine wired to attack, press, control the ball, suffocate, and punish. The first true test hit on February 10th, 2024 at the Bay Arena. Leverkusen taking on Bayern Munich. A bare-knuckle fight for top of the Bundesliga table. Leverkusen cruised 3-0 thanks to Josip Stanisic, Alex Grimaldo, and Jeremy Frimpong. But the statement was way bigger than the score. That night, Leverkusen did more than beat Bayern. They mentally crushed the empire that had owned Germany for over 10 years. Act 2 arrived April 14, 2024, match day 29, the day Leverkusen could be crowned Bundesliga champions. The Bay Arena was begging for history, and the squad delivered a 5-0 demolition of Werder Bremen. Victor Boniface opened up the scoring from the penalty spot. Granit Xhaka launched an absolute rocket from distance. Then Florian Wirtz sent the entire stadium into madness with his first ever professional hat trick. The wild pitch invasion said it all. Over a century of deep frustration was completely gone. The curse was officially dead. Then came the final piece. The Pokal final against Kaiserslautern on May 25th. Barely 3 days after that painful European loss in Dublin, Leverkusen had to prove their mental toughness and finish the job. Xhaka dropped a beauty in the 17th minute. Then Kosunu saw red right before halftime. Down to 10 men for the whole second half, Leverkusen suffered, dug deep, and ground out a 1-0 win. A perfect domestic double. Invincible in Germany, historic forever. But Xabi Alonso's real magic was how he leveled up every single player in his system. Florian Wirtz became the absolute crown jewel, the creative heartbeat of the squad, giving complete freedom between the lines. He shredded defenses with unreal vision, quick movement, and elite ball carrying. He wrapped up with 18 goals and 20 assists across all competitions. Victor Boniface was the lead executioner, bagging 21 goals through sheer power, slick link-up play, and bullying defenders. When he went down hurt, Patrick Schick stepped in with 13 goals, sparking those stoppage time miracles against Karabag and Hoffenheim. Granit Xhaka was the pulsing engine. A 25 million euro steal who became Alonso's literal voice on the grass, topping the Bundesliga for passes smashed into the final third. Right beside him, Ezequiel Palacios offered perfect balance, smooth elegance, ball recovery, and elite passing. And then came the wingbacks. Absolute chaos. On the right side, Jeremy Frimpong completely terrorized backlines. Over 860 sprints and 14 goals. Out left, Alex Grimaldo showed up for free from Benfica and totally redefined the role. He was never just a fullback. He tucked inside, dictated the tempo, attacked open grass, whipped in deadly set pieces, and ended the year with 12 goals and a crazy assist tally. Backing that up, Jonathan Tah anchored the entire defensive shape, completely dominating the air and scoring 6 headers himself. Beside him, Edmund Tapsoba brought massive strides in calm ball carrying from deep, while Kasunu provided pure aggression and sharp anticipation. That was the ultimate masterpiece. Xabi Alonso did more than just lift a trophy. He built a flawlessly balanced team. That is exactly what Chelsea took home. Then came the darkest, most baffling chapter of Alonso's coaching career, taking over the hot seat at the Santiago Bernabeu. Early on, Alonso actually seemed to restore Madrid's famous shine. At the Club World Cup, his squad looked totally dominant, right up until a painful crash against PSG. Another huge mistake. And then that La Liga start was simply brutal. Still, even though his reign died way too early after just 7 months, 233 days, the raw stats really were not disastrous. Xabi Alonso handled 34 official games as Real Madrid manager, securing 24 wins, 4 draws, and 6 losses. Like we mentioned earlier, that win rate is basically a carbon copy of Hansi Flick's debut numbers over at Barcelona. His Madrid team scored 72 goals, leaked 38, and held 10 clean sheets. Honestly, the early days were pure dominance. 13 games totally unbeaten, before stumbling against Atletico Madrid at the Metropolitano, and then dropping one to Liverpool in Europe. The absolute peak of Alonso's run was a 2-1 Clasico win over champions Barcelona at the Bernabeu. But strangely, that was exactly when the cracks started showing. Sitting on a 2-1 lead, Alonso made the massive gamble to sub off Vinicius Junior in the 72nd minute, and Vinicius totally lost it on the sideline, screaming he was leaving the club. Days later, he said sorry to the squad and the board, but completely ignored Alonso. Yeah, it was rough because he played plenty of matches but barely got enough actual minutes. Look, every manager has his own specific system. Every coach has his own way of doing things. I just do not think I clicked with his vision or what the squad needed right then. Still, a real learning experience. I took a lot away from it, and the guys in the dressing room had my back. Plus, I finally got the chance to really reflect and grow as a person. I am hoping to keep building on that with people I actually share a great connection with. And honestly, that was not just some bad attitude. That was the entire chain of command snapping on live television. From that second, the locker room began slipping away, with heavyweights like Jude Bellingham showing visible frustration too. But across the trenches of this internal war, Kylian Mbappe somehow became Alonso's most lethal ally. The French striker posted insane stats, 29 goals in just 25 games. He embraced the tactical setup, stayed disciplined, and became the only massive star actually defending Alonso's vision. A week later, Madrid crushed Valencia 4-0. Alonso sat on 13 wins in 14 games. The momentum felt unstoppable until it completely hit a brick wall. Over their next 11 fixtures, Madrid collapsed. 3 losses, 3 draws, and just a single convincing performance. A 3-0 away win at Athletic Club on December 3rd. Then the Spanish Super Cup final hit, with Alonso battling opponents on the pitch and half his locker room off it. Madrid lost to Barcelona, and the board fired him. But hold on a second, what happened at Real Madrid requires some serious context. Xabi Alonso was essentially coaching against his own players. Massive egos and stubborn superstars had completely hijacked that locker room, refusing to respect any authority. Yet remarkably, his tactical numbers stayed rock solid. Today, as Madrid endures another season without silverware, the fan base is finally waking up to reality. Maybe Alonso was never the issue. Maybe the toxic dressing room was to blame. Because right now, the Real Madrid squad looks less like a unified football club and more like a daycare for spoiled athletes. The awful results speak for themselves. And now for Xabi, he heads to Chelsea, a club infamous for chewing up head coaches. Maresca clashed with the Chelsea board because he demanded way more tactical control. He confessed that his last 48 hours were the absolute worst since he arrived at the club, complaining that too many people refused to support him. Rosignol survived just 3 months before getting the sack. Was that the darkest moment of his tenure? Yeah. It came down to the basics. There was absolutely no pride in wearing the shirt. It was totally unacceptable. I have defended these players, but I am accountable. Always said that. Enter Xabi Alonso. The former Bayer Leverkusen boss is about to become Chelsea's 6th permanent manager since Bailey bought the club in May 2022. So here is the big question. Why could Xabi Alonso and Chelsea actually be a perfect fit? First up, the tactical system. Everyone knows Alonso loves a back 3 with flying wingbacks. Funnily enough, that is exactly how Chelsea lined up in the FA Cup final. Do Chelsea currently have the squad depth to pull this off? Honestly, they probably do. Malo Gusto and Marc Cucurella are highly capable attacking fullbacks. They naturally slot in as wingbacks. Chelsea is stacked with central defenders, so fielding a back 3 is zero issue. And here's what fans often forget: Chelsea genuinely has elite talent. Proper top-tier football stars. The situation really isn't as bleak as the media paints it. Alonso inherits a squad with a massive, dynamic spine. Cole Palmer remains their creative maestro and primary goal threat. Sure, injuries ruined his rhythm this campaign, but we all know the terrifying heights he hits when he is fully fit and firing. Back in 2023-24, he bagged 27 goals and 15 assists. In the Club World Cup final, he literally looked like the best attacking midfielder alive. Moises Caicedo is the ultimate midfield engine. He's the Premier League's top ball winner with 436 recoveries, covering every blade of grass. 1,600 completed passes prove his absolute dominance. Add to that, his long-range strike is becoming a lethal weapon. Then, there's Enzo Fernandez, the visionary playmaker. Arguably, Chelsea's standout star right now, the World Cup winner delivers no matter what. Even during a rough team campaign, Enzo still racked up 15 goals and 9 assists. He has now dropped back-to-back seasons with 20-plus goal contributions. Pedro Neto provides blazing pace, width, and direct attacks. He stepped up big with 10 goals and 8 assists. Reece James remains the club captain. When fully healthy, the powerful right-back's overlapping runs and deadly crosses are unstoppable. Marc Cucurella brings endless energy down the left flank, seamlessly inverting into the midfield. Levi Colwill adds calm leadership and elite ball progression from center half. Then we have João Pedro, a forward perfectly comfortable dropping deep. He presses like a madman and links the play, completely matching Alonso's high-pressing demands. Despite Chelsea's terrible run of form, the Brazilian adapted brilliantly, scoring from everywhere. Long-range rockets, quick spins in traffic, clinical finishes right inside the box, driving forward with pure intent. He even pulled off bicycle kicks. Sitting on 20 goals and 9 assists, he's just one step away from a 30-goal contribution year. Then there is Estevão Willian, Chelsea's absolute jewel. You won't find a more unpredictable young winger in the Premier League. Injuries broke his rhythm, but his impact at just 19 years old was no joke. He found the net in 3 consecutive Champions League matches, burying a stunner against Barcelona. During his debut Premier League campaign, he struck against Liverpool, then bagged a goal and an assist against Crystal Palace. This kid has the raw potential to genuinely enter future Ballon d'Or conversations. Estevão Willian is the diamond of Stamford Bridge. But Alonso can't just casually show up to train. He needs immediate answers on Enzo Fernandez. Are Real Madrid actually going to swoop in? Will a formal bid arrive? He desperately needs clarity on Cole Palmer too. Does Palmer fancy Manchester United? Are they genuinely circling? Alonso must sit down with this squad and figure out who is fully committed. Whispers also link João Pedro with a move to Barcelona. He isn't for sale, but those tough conversations still have to happen. This right here is why Xabi Alonso needs serious pull in the transfer window. Way more power than previous Chelsea managers ever got. He needs a voice, a proper vote. And this summer, he has to be calling the shots on both signings and sales. 2 names make absolute sense for Xabi Alonso's Chelsea rebuild. First, Victor Osimhen. He just dropped a 22-goal, 8-assist season, and honestly, the striker looks like he is hitting the absolute prime of his career right now. Chelsea could actually land him, and honestly, the guy feels tailor-made for this squad. Then there is Murillo from Nottingham Forest. Chelsea already know how vital leadership and grit are, especially after watching Levi Colwill fight back from his ACL injury. They desperately need more guys with character, real authority and problem-solving skills when matches turn to chaos. Murillo offers a massive opportunity to anchor that defensive line. Naturally, Xabi Alonso and the Blues still have to sort out the back line and fix the goalkeeper mess, but the potential here is genuinely electric. Xabi Alonso leading this young squad, backed by raw talent and actual power in the transfer market. That feels like a guaranteed winning bet for Chelsea.